the amounts are not the same as you write in the report. So if that's not the case, if the amounts vary every month, then I can understand that. And if the amount for April wasn't posted until May and not included in this number, then I can understand that. So the balance would be 292,203, is that correct?
Okay, I did make a statement on my memo. After the 49,879, I said in May,
Yes.
for the month of April, franchise fees have increased by 2,000. Yeah, because they're gonna.
So that's even more money, is that correct?
Yes.
So the 49 is increased by $2,300.
Correct.
Okay. I would suggest that you go back and look at that number because it still doesn't look right.
Okay, I
Okay,
will.
please. Because otherwise, if you calculate it, we're short $56,000. According to the numbers that you have.
Okay,
So please.
I'll check it and I'll give you an update.
Thank you. And then I have another question on page 2 of the general fund under miscellaneous, which is the next page. And that's good because that's money coming in. But we have year-to-date actual $48,000 when we originally had a budget of $6,700. So can you give us detail on that, or give, because I want to know what kind of money comes in, where's it coming from that goes into a miscellaneous account?
Okay, I don't know if you remember last month, and that was your first meeting, I talked about the police car money that was sent in because there was an issue with the ordinance and the financing company, which is governmental capital, couldn't make directly the payment to the police car. One, because we didn't have the police car yet, and another one was because they couldn't also pay for the rest of the equipment. They sent us a check, and I put it in there because at that time that we received the payment, it's better to put it on a miscellaneous account than just keep it on a drawer until we find out where we're gonna put it. That's the reason why you see it there. In the month of May, I have to do a budget amendment and send it to the proper place because these $39,000 is gonna increase your budget.
Does that require an ordinance?
Probably so, because this is money that was a loan and we're gonna have to pay that.
Okay, so has
This
the
is
car been
something that
purchased yet?
Ma'am?
Has the car been purchased yet?
No, that car has not been, has not arrived. There was some equipment that was received and the payment was done for that, which was a camera and the components that go with the camera that will go in the car.
Why would it have to go through an ordinance if it's already been approved?
Because we're gonna have to increase the budget. The ordinance is not gonna be to receive the money or the loan, but because we're gonna change the bottom line of the budget. We're gonna increase it.
So we got the loan before we could get the okay from the council?
Correct. And the mayor just signed a paper today for them to release the remainder of the balance amount that was that is going to be used for the sink, the cup sink, and it was a loan. So they said they're going to send us $49,000 and some dollars. But I already know what to put that.
And Mayor, if I may, the car has been ordered, but it's a back order.
It's a back order.
Is that correct, Chief?
Yes. It's due to arrive in July. I talked to Alan Wiley with Caldwell Country Motors, and he said that it was going to arrive now, as we speak, in some town where they were going to equip it with the equipment, and then, of course, by the time it gets here, it'll be like second week of July.
So it'll arrive fully equipped and ready to...
With the exception of the camera and the radar unit. We'll have to install that in the radio portion. But we got that sitting in the office.
What typically goes into the miscellaneous account? Because there's a original current budget, $6,700.
Yeah, usually if there's a small revenue that was not accounted for on the original budget, and most of the time the miscellaneous account is used to save money in there, and then before we decide where we're going to distribute that money. I personally don't like the miscellaneous account, so as soon as I put something in there, I start looking to where it needs to go. But because of It's received over there, they put it in the system, I need to see it somewhere. I cannot just have it floating in the bank, because then it gets lost.
Is there a way to put notations in the system as to what each dollar comes from in the miscellaneous?
We should be able to do that when
We
we
should be able
do
to track everything down?
the deposits, but it's just a matter of going to the front and playing the girls for them to put the correct information in the system. Because I know that I've seen very generic deposits that there's no information on it. I have to actually go to the check, to the actual paperwork and look and see what it is.
Can we work on that too?
Of course, absolutely.
I have one more question.
Yes, ma'am.
Regarding our insolvency plan, we said we should put aside some money, call it a reserve. Do we already have a reserve account in the budget?
Fund balance? And is that on the budget?
Account titled reserve? Because we are making, how much money are we making in the general fund?
No, when you reserve the money for the budget, it's not reserved on the budget actual budget reports.
Where's the reserve?
It goes to the balance sheet. And the account fund balance is on the balance sheet, and that's where you accumulate the money. And when you have these accounts, the revenues and expenditures in the system, at the end of the year, when we close those accounts, whatever money is left over, like for example, in this case, we so far have $197,000, the system automatically does a journal entry to post that money to the balance sheet fund balance. And that's where it stays. And that's the reason why last meeting I mentioned that you're supposed to sustain yourself from with the expenditures for what you collect and not spend more, because if you spend more and then you have to get from that fund balance reserve. So you can do the operating expenses.
So how much has gone into that fund balance already?
It doesn't go until the end of the year, until we close the books.
Okay, so
It's basically not accounted for in the budget, it's just, it's in that fund balance.
You have basically in accounting, you have 3 different reports, which is your balance sheet, your income and revenue, or your revenue and expenditure report, and then you have your working capital balance. At the end of the year, when we close the year, and then the revenue and expenditures accounts close, and they close to the balance sheet. So they go directly onto the fund balance. And then they stay there and we start meeting every year.
okay, so you're making sure that that's happened.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
I have a question. I didn't see any interest posted for March or April. Are we not doing the bank reconciliations?
Yes, we are.
And the interest not being posted?
I need to look at that because I was not aware of that either.
Because it was for March and April, I did not see it.
Yes, Fonda is doing the bank reconciliation, so I need to go back and check that.
Okay, you let me know that.
Yeah, I didn't make a note.
And then I had another question also. In the first couple of pages of the report, when you start talking about each department, this stuck out to me in the service department where it said, several larger expenses related to vehicle tires in April. And then if you see the amounts, they're huge amounts. Surely we didn't buy that many tires. Are we combining other expenses in there?
The service department was created to service all the departments when it comes to fuel, lubricant, and any small repairs, tires, windshield, and all of that, and major repairs for vehicles and for big equipment. So since I've been here, most of the tires that we have been buying have been for the police department. I want to say yesterday, Eli came because they need 2 tires for a backhoe, which are tires for terrain, but we don't use the backhoe on terrain, we use it on asphalt. So the tires are going quicker. He says that we are having to change these tires once a year and they're expensive. They're like $400 and some each tire. And every time, I do know, since March to now, we have changed the 4 tires of about 2 or 3 vehicles in the police department. And those are almost $200 each.
Okay, those that we find for the police department, where do they get posted?
On the service department, on tires.
Not towards the police
No,
department?
if you look at the department, the police department, it has no budget and no expenditures posted for tires or vehicle repair.
We're not gonna buy no more tires.
Uh-huh.
We're not gonna buy any more tires.
Okay, we send them to work on the rims.
Okay. Those are my two questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go on to the report on policy and procedures for usage of city credit cards.
Okay. I included a memo on the packet where it talks about purchase orders, and purchase orders includes credit cards because all the credit cards are also purchases. So what I implemented, because it was not being done, purchase orders were used only whenever there was time or we had a quote on the pen and they will come in and write down the PO, or there was a chance to call in, or if the clerk was not in and there was no purchase order. So it was not being consistent. I'm trying to create something that is consistent. So we're using purchase orders now for all purchases. And they're being coded before they do the purchase, because I'm making sure that we have the money before they go and commit this money to any vendor. So this memo also went to the personnel. I know that I addressed it to the council because I was asked to put one in the packet, but I actually sent it to the personnel of the city, instructing them on the policy or the procedure that I wanted for them to follow. It's working very good so far. There's some minor tweaks that I still have to do. There's certain employees that I still need to work with so we can get these going. But it gives me the impression that they already knew how to use these, but it was not implemented, it was not used. So even on credit cards, I mean, they come and they ask for the credit cards. There's a credit card in my possession in the office, even though it's not under my name. So every time they come and they ask for that credit card, I ask them where they're going, the vendor. And that's the reason why all of this information is put on this memo, because I was getting employees that will come in and ask for a vendor with no information. No dollar amount, no vendor, they just wanted the number. And I said, no. You need to bring me a vendor name, you need to bring me a quote, something that is gonna tell me what you're gonna purchase and how much you're gonna use, and in what department I'm gonna go ahead and code it. So that is working, and the same thing is gonna happen with the credit cards. I had an instance where the pool had an emergency where the diving board broke, and it was 4 o'clock. I was leaving, the lady was in school, the supervisor or the person in charge, and she was calling me for a PO. And I said, which is the vendor? And she goes, well, I still haven't looked, so I don't know the vendor, but I want a PO so that way when I get out of school, I can do that research and purchase it. And I go, I'm sorry, but no, you have to give me a vendor. So she came and she gave all the information to Fonda, and Fonda released the credit card to her so she could go buy it. Because she needed it for that reason.
When you say they come to you, are you talking about supervisors or just employees at random?
It should be only supervisors, but there's some occasions, like for example, Cindy, she doesn't have a supervisor, or Andrea comes to me, Eli comes to me, he's a supervisor. That's pretty much just about anybody that comes. I don't see a lot of employees.
So the PO they weren't doing it correctly as
Not that they were not doing it correctly, is that it was more convenient to just go into the purchase and then come to do the paperwork after.
and who allowed that?
I don't know, that's the way
Because
it
that
was.
should have been stopped right away.
I think that was even before, when Laura was here and before then, because I know I've been getting comments that Laura tried to correct that, But because there's so many things that we need to fix here, I guess that was not something
That was not an important one.
yeah, that was, it was priorities. So, but I'm trying to get as much as I can, even though it might not seem important, but it really is, because if you're gonna start releasing credit cards to anybody, and let's say, for example, it's under Fonda's name or under the city manager, and they just go out and purchase, and then we don't know who's doing the purchase, that is really wrong, I think. Because I'm not gonna let my credit card go out, my personal credit card just go out.
You made mention about some, about fuel purchases. A while back, we approved some, fuel cards, fuel lane cards. Are those, have they been in play yet, or have they been ordered, or?
Oh,
Yes, the fuel cards are here, they're working quite well, we're really excited, and Fonda has mentioned in reference to some of the reports. And so it hasn't been used for a whole 30 days yet, so they're going to give us an end-of-the-month report. And then we'll be able to track and go forward in reference to do that. They all had training, the police department's doing quite well, as well as the fuel, we have each vehicle. So if I could just, for a second, explain, each vehicle has a card. They use a PIN number that's given to them, and so we're able to track and be able to do that. And then there's some miscellaneous cards, because we have to fill up things that don't necessarily have a number that they put in, what their mileage is, and so we'll be able to track and see. Now, we are emptying out the fuel itself. It'll take some time for us to depressurize it and take it out of service, but as soon as we use up that fuel, that will be offline.
So you won't be purchasing any more of the bulk fuel?
No, at this time, we don't foresee doing that. These fleet cards that we have, we can use at any gas station except for, I believe, Walmart and H-E-B in town, and it seems to be working very well.
How many credit cards are out there?
We have, you said cards, or you said credit cards or cards?
No, credit cards, not for fuel cards, actual credit cards.
Well, we have
Oh, credit cards is
Yeah,
only two.
yeah.
two MasterCard, but we also have Walmart
And Tractor Supply. So in total is four, two MasterCards and the Walmart and the Tractor Supply. No.
And whose names are on those accounts?
The Tractor Supply is under the city, the Walmart is under the city. Two of the MasterCards, one is under the city manager and the other one is under the finance manager, which is Fonda.
Those are the MasterCards?
Yes.
Do those have to go through any type of pre-approval or any approval?
At the time of the purchase, no. No, but when I release them, and even I have instructed the city manager that whenever there's a purchase and she's gonna release it, they need to come to me. And I'll give them a PO, and then they need to go back to her, give her the PO, so that way she can release the card. So they'll take the PO together with the card.
So even Ms. Henrietta you have the cards for everybody?
No, I don't have
Okay.
hers, but she cannot use, and we talked about these, she cannot use the credit card unless it's to book a hotel when she's gonna travel,
Mhm.
and for the registration fees for a conference. Other than that, if she needs meal money, and then we're gonna, because that's another thing that I wanna implement here, the state of Texas comptroller's office has a 4D on motel, on meals and mileage. And nobody's following any 4Ds here.
Is there even a policy written up?
I don't think so, and it will start from a policy, and then it will go to ordinance and approval from you in regards to that policy. But that, once she gets meals, she's gonna have to bring in the receipts, and she will get reimbursed for that.
Now, this credit cards that you have right at this moment, are any of the previous employees, are they still on those accounts?
No, when I came in and I was hired, all the credit cards were under Jocelyn, Mr. Andy Jocelyn, Margaret, and I don't remember, that was it. And right away I started working, we picked up those credit cards, I believe we cut them out, and we contacted the bank, and I started the process of changing the names on those credit cards. So there was a period of 2 months that we were not using credit cards at all, because we didn't have the proper credit card.
Okay.
So did you approve the credit card usage for, I think, sometime last week or this week or a while back, about going to Elmo's to pick up some decorations and then go eat at Tierras afterwards?
Did I approve it? No, that was before I issued this memo.
This memo, when did that occur?
That purchase,
The Tierras deal.
that was last week, 2 weeks ago.
And, do we have, how do we itemize the bill that you make a $90 and then with no receipt and you still get paid? I know there was a few unitemized items.
Yeah, the copies that I have, that I asked for receipts, there's still no receipts attached to those statements, and we paid those statements. And those were receipts. And you and I talked today when I was signing payables, there was, they there who didn't have POs for big amounts.
Yeah, and those are the things that I'm still working on, trying to get them, to follow what I said, and that's the reason why I started seeing, because I talked individually with each manager, with each supervisor, and I made sure that they understood how I want for them to follow these, and if they had any questions. But there's still some people that don't follow the purchase order.
Right.
And when I saw those purchases, I said, no, I need to send a memo for it. And I actually asked for the request of the city manager. She wanted for me to create a form for credit card purchases only, so that way every time that they will do a purchase, they will have to fill out that form. And I said, this is going to be a lot of work, because it is going to deter people from making expenditures on credit cards, but I already have the purchase order. I think the purchase order will suffice in regards to documentation for the purchase order, for the credit card purchases. But the only thing that I need to work on, instead of creating all these different forms that eventually we're gonna end up not using, is educate the employees and make sure that they follow what the correct procedures.
And then they just became lax and nobody followed it,
Yeah.
basically.
But the thing is that I'm not only gonna write a memo, but I'm already researched into the Texas local code, and there is rules and regulations in regards to purchases that we can follow. And this is our Bible, the Texas local government code. I take it as my Bible, because every time I have a question or I want to change something, I go and I refer to it equally to the charter. What the charter says and then what he says, and then I put them together, and that's what I follow. So one of the manuals and policies and procedures that we need to put in place according to the audit, and also for our own use here, is the purchasing policies and procedures.
I think one of the things that concerns me is that to date, we still don't have receipts for every single purchase item on the credit card statement.
Okay.
So we need to be diligent about that, so every time they turn in a credit card, they need to give you a copy of the receipt, so that it can be attached to the statement.
It is concerning, and I do need to talk to Juana and make sure that she doesn't pay anything without a receipt. And the problem with that is that, and I've seen it happen everywhere I have worked. An employee doesn't turn in a receipt. Finance department doesn't pay the bill because we don't have a receipt. Eventually, those payments are gonna accumulate, and eventually, the credit card is gonna be denied. So we need to educate all the employees, so Wanda and the rest of the city employees, that it is very critical for them to turn in credit card, especially credit card receipts, because if they don't get paid, and then we're gonna end up not having a credit card at all. And when it's really, really necessary to use it, we're not gonna have it.
Ms. Moreno, I think we may need to get legal counsel regarding setting up policy and procedure, because it seems like if we did it for credit cards, then the PO would be a subset of that, because the PO needs a credit card. And so Chris might have information on that, so
We can get together and actually do a formal city policy to wrap all that on there.
I think we do need a formal city policy.
Implement that from a council perspective to being an official city policy, but then that's a directive to all employees that have to follow. And if not, then they be free.
And if I'm not mistaken, with all the policies, personnel and purchases and everything else, there has to be a formal policy and procedure for the audience. So in any policy and procedures that we create and we present to the council, it has to be approved by legal.
Any purchase that, like say, for like a per diem or for classes, for schools, or to pay dinners, I think it's pretty vital that it needs to be itemized, because I don't think, like, for my employer, alcoholic beverages are not.
Absolutely. The state of Texas Comptroller's Office has a guideline where they don't pay employees, state employees, a per diem. Let's say $26 for lunch, $10 for breakfast, but $30 for dinner. For an employee that is going out of town and is going to spend overnight in a training, okay, the rules is that they cannot purchase any video in the hotel. They cannot purchase any alcohol beverages and get reimbursed for it. They cannot also provide tips to the waitresses. That's also another rule that the state denies. Some parking, it is allowed, but it has to be justified. Like, for example, if you go to San Antonio, there is no parking anywhere, so you must pay for parking. So that's something that is allowed. But if you go, let's say, to Montana or Trinity, over there's parking everywhere. So if you use valet parking just because you don't want to walk, and then that's an allowable expense. It's not allowed. On that purchase that you were talking about on Tierra, that money was reimbursed to the city, and it also included a tip. So that was absolutely something that was not allowed, and I asked for it to be reimbursed, and it was reimbursed. I received the money. Okay.
And you might want to, Henry, when you have your manager meetings, maybe include her so she can review these policies with the supervisors that request for it. So they all, so that they can do what you need.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to go on to item 1C, rental storage lease agreement renewal and construction project for 850 Lilly.
Okay, can you hear me okay? Can you hear me okay? How's that?
Yes, that's better.
Right. Okay. In your packet, we have the city of Floresville entered into an agreement that actually is going to expire in July to rent a facility that's located by our city dump, that's located at 815 Joliet. Now, it's called the Dairy Corporation, and they've had this space, and we renewed it once. You were about to roll it over last year. There's a copy of the letter they sent to Sherry Pollock and up to the unit. So they rent at a cost of $3,000 a month. They've come into the city and asked for an extension on this rental agreement. But they've also asked for some repairs. There's some leakage they're having in the roof and on the side. And they asked, I think in the agreement it said something about $5,000 to get additional space. So they're willing to pay more rent. However, they want an office and a bathroom. That the repairs made. Now, I thought initially they used it just to store things. They store things and they come and pick them up back and forth. However, they want it to be more of an office space and use of a bathroom. There's room there, but there's cost. Andrew Durantes was able to come up with some costs. There's two there in your packet. One of them talks about if we actually build it ourselves and do all the work, or buy a prefab office component with bathrooms and install the water and sewer. There's even a picture there of what the facility looks like, since you may have driven by it and not paid any attention to it. So when you go into where the city dump is, it's that middle building just to the left when you enter that gate on that side.
So, Ms. Turner, it's $30,000 if the staff builds it?
If
Is
staff
it who installs it? If the staff installs it?
yes, one of the proposals, if the staff does it, we do everything, then it's $30,000 for us to build it along with all the equipment. But if you buy a prefab that has an office and the bathrooms, that's a $27,650.
And I understand that. My point is, when would the staff have time to do this?
Well, we were looking at what the cost was. I didn't say that the staff had time, but what I was looking for is what the cost would be. So we wanted to give you a cost in reference to what it is. Now, we haven't negotiated any additional rents with the owner. I didn't know if you all wanted to go forward with that. Now, when we reported on the TCEQ report that we had, this was one of the issues in reference to security, because they have a key to that gate, and you can go past that gate to the filter and get around to the side of the sewer plant. And so we're going to have to put a fence in there. Either way it goes, if they stay, if they go, we have to have that fence. And David Mahula has actually given me two. I need a third one to compare. I'm going to see how much we need to put a fence there, along with some guardrails we need over there as well. So that is an issue, but we're going to do the fence either way it goes.
Do we have an estimate on that?
On the fencing?
On the fencing?
Not today. I have two estimates, but I need to have three.
So if there are gonna be people coming in now, like they use it now as a storage, then they make it into an office and people are gonna come in and out?
They're coming in and out right now. Whatever.
What happens if somebody has an accident, they're inside the sewer plant?
You're liable because it's on your property.
So we're making $36,000 a year. So if we pay $30,000 for a building, I mean, it would take us at least a year to recoup the amount.
Correct, but you have to remember that they may have an increase on the rent, because if you're going to do a bathroom, you're going to make these improvements, then there will be additional increment. So there may be addition in which you would see in the first year before you have your return on investment, and then after that it will be that. But that's what you all have to decide if you want to negotiate, and then have, to give them on their time, their lease is up July 31st. So we need to be able to let them know if they need to go by the end of the month of July, so they can find another location, or if they can stay and we can renegotiate when we're going to be able to make this improvement.
The thing is, we don't have the money, right? We don't have the money in the budget today to build the bathroom and
No, it would have to be something we have to budget in next year's budget, not this fiscal year, but next
that's
fiscal
why
year.
I'm saying we have to budget for it in the new fiscal year.
Yes, ma'am.
How many quotes did you get on the portable buildings?
Well, Andrew, he went to somewhere local close, because we need to have a ballpark figure in reference to that. So they already have one up there on I-10 that has an office and already, they said they've used it before. And this was something that they had anticipated when my predecessor was here, and that's what they had discussed. And so I met with Andrew to talk about what we could do for a prefab. Now, the company is not willing to do a prefab themselves. They initially were going to bring a prefab and they poured a slab, but that didn't happen. So there's a slab out there. As I said, they're leaving water from the walls as well as the roof. So those need to be addressed as well.
What about the infrastructure? I know the sewers are there, but what about water?
Actually, you have to bring the water in the sewer line there because there's nothing there right now.
That's why I'm saying, what is the cost of that?
It's included in
It's
it.
on for,
Yes,
Is this
ma'am.
included in the 30,000?
Yes, ma'am. It would be just adjacent to it. It'd be adjacent to it. Where the metal is
You
now.
said there's a slab there already?
It put a concrete slab there now, yes.
And that's, the dimensions are correct? I mean,
No,
are
they would
good?
have to expand that pad they put there.
this, all they're asking for is for a restroom, basically.
An office and a restroom,
An office and a restroom.
yes. Which would change the dynamic, so their activity, and I believe when it comes to that, their activity would probably increase. They say now they come by once or twice a day, but they're there in the morning and night. We have no idea when they're coming to go because they have keys to that gate. But if there's going to be an office there, I would assume there'd be more activity and cars parked there a longer period of time.
Is it something that the employees can use instead of having it leased out?
The water department stored their equipment in that facility. Right now, it's stored in different locations, but previously, from what they're telling me that that was used for our water department storage before it was rented out.
I don't see the cost for the fixing of the leak.
Well, the fixing of the leak is, I think, building the curb around the,
Yeah, it's a curving that'll do it.
Number 15 on the first page, John. It says curbs to stop water going into buildings.
She mentioned on this.
yeah.
This is small leaks, you know, we can, I mean, I don't think there's any major cost for that, but this was a major cost. That's why you want to pictures of the facility so you can see it?
Yes,
Yes.
but I just didn't see the cost.
The curbing was one of the major costs it's gonna cost in reference to that. Because their equipment's getting wet. They've had some duct tape and some other things, but they want to be able to adjust it if they're gonna sign a new lease.
To finish off the question, basically the city can utilize it a lot more than having to renew the lease, correct?
If you opt to not rent this facility, then you don't necessarily have to do the gates in between the two, because then we can secure it, you know, when people go in and out, it's going to be the city. We can use it, and we can actually bring all the water equipment that we had previously stored, and we can store it there at the water sewer plant, which is what it was used for previously. I know property around here is prime, probably not as much as the mayor can tell you about how you can find, it's getting prime property, and so we're doing that. Even the secretary is working with Peanut Festival Company people so that they can store their things someplace else because we need storage. We're running out of room.
Okay.
And so we're trying to get some of our equipment inside and not stored outside.
Okay, so what is your recommendation?
I don't recommend that we not renew the lease. But I know it's really kind of hard to do that because we're trying to do funding and, you know, money is money and rent is rent. But I would recommend that we don't rent that facility.
We're looking at, you know, having to accommodate or build to suit with money that we don't have. And, you know, for money that we can eventually get, but, you know, right now, you know, and I think that if the city staff can utilize it a lot more than renewing the lease, I think that'd be a better deal.
City staff definitely could use it for storage and space, and to make sure that we store the proper equipment, we can actually just do the $5,000 so that we can make sure that it stops raining, so we don't want our equipment to get wet. But we can definitely use that property as we're growing and trying to clean up some of our issues as well.
And I think it'd be a better for liability issues that we do not renew the lease as well. Because, you know, if TCQ is already involved, you know, and saying that our security needs to be better, I think, and we can alleviate some of that by limiting the amount or limiting it to employees only.
Correct, and staff, and we know that if the gate was left open, sometimes the gates are left open. If that gate is left open, we know staff left it open.
So
Not
did
that somebody came in.
they give you an option as to, let's say we didn't approve the enlargement, and they just want to go keep it as is?
No,
No?
they need an office, they want an office in the bathroom. So that's what they want.
Do you know more or less an approximate, just a number from the study, what a fence is going to cost?
Well, we had one that came in at $3,000 roughly to a fence, and another one came in at $4,500. And like I said, I'm waiting for the third one to come in. But that, because the fence is a little different, it has a barbed wire, it's go over a mound, it's a unique fence, not everybody can do is change it.
Because we had talked about getting the Peanut Festival Association to get their things out, where they're not paying any rent or anything, and the warehouse is out there also, and move them to the warehouse that's over there by the beer warehouse, and have them pay the electricity bill.
Yes, and they may have to also reinforce the floor a little bit, because when we store things, they're gonna have a dead load and secure, and that would get their cost. But Eli needs more room, and he needs to bring things underneath, and we need to keep things like things together. So there needs to be where the shop or the yard, that needs to be all maintenance, so that we can address that at that location. And we really don't have much activity at all at that, what used to be the old belt location at the beer warehouse.
And that warehouse is empty.
It's empty, we can empty out quite quickly.
It's got some things, but it's like I told him, just bring a dumpster and you can put it all in there.
Yeah, that's generous.
Well, yeah, and it's not like super much.
I was concerned that it would be chock full for the season, but it's not.
So for right now, what they need is a letter of extension through July 31.
No, ma'am, right now, they're asking for a renewal of their lease. They,
It says,
Which
the letter
is July
requested an
30.
extension till July 31, 2014. And the agreement, that's in your letter.
I think it ends July 30.
I said, the storage entered into a contract for the storage space, and the agreement is ending July 31st, 2014, so it's ended. Their lease is up, July 31, 2014.
So what if we go back to them, see what y'all think? We go back to them, we tell them we're not gonna put a bathroom and we're not gonna put an office. If they want to continue renting it, because they were not trying to bargain like that, I can tell you that.
We still have to do the fence.
But the fence is
We still have to do the
$3,000,
fence,
$4,000.
And we still have to pay the
But you're saying we can
$3,000.
use the space ourselves.
But there's a warehouse.
It is a security issue, and the attorney came in, I'll let him weigh in what his concerns are.
I was just gonna say, since we're starting to discuss this, I would recommend moving, and seeing if we can bring up item 2A, since it's starting to be consideration.
Good point. And let's go on to new business, consideration and action to renew Derrick Corporation lease agreement for 815 Goliad Road warehouse. No, citizen comments first.
Just say we're done with the rear warehouse.
Do we have any citizens' comments on this issue? Okay, now,
No, we should move on.
you can make this motion.
I make a motion to terminate the lease agreement with the Derrick Corporation at 815 Goliad Road Warehouse, effective July 31st, 2014.
Okay, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Nieto, second by Councilman Rodriguez. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Lisa. Okay, now we're going to go on to item 2B, consideration and action to select an option for the position of city attorney and direct city manager and how to proceed. Ms. Hilliard.
Yes, per request, I believe, of Councilman Rodriguez, I provided a request of what the legal options are. I put it in the packet for you again. We currently have a contract with a law firm, or you could look at a retainer with a fixed amount per monthly and the services we provide. And then there's some other a la carte that will happen that falls out of that agreement. And then the final option, the staff attorney that will be here on a daily basis. And I put those numbers in there. And so I'm just asking, because I haven't asked for a request for proposal, please remember that because of this type, your attorney can tell you, you don't necessarily have to go out for a request for proposal. You can take different proposals. You don't have to advertise it, but he can explain the different options that we can do.
Kind of a
Conflict of interest.
but the legal perspective is, this does fall under professional services on the local government code, so you don't have to send these out for bid. That's purely the council decision. That's about all I can say on here for that.
So I don't know whether to prepare to go out with proposals to a firm or to staff attorney, or you want to continue where you are now. I was looking for direction as to what you want to do.
I think that it's in the best interest for the city to move into, for proposals for a staff attorney. And I think it'd be a lot easier for us to go and justify the fees, because we know exactly what we're going to be paying annually. So, with that being said, I'll go ahead and make the motion to approve the
The figures you have on the 120,000, is that just, where'd you pull those figures from?
I went to TML and got a recommendation from what their numbers are, what to have, and also there's a job search, so that's what staff attorneys do, it's a ballpark figure.
Okay, my comment on that is, can you reach out to the 4A, to the 4B, and see if we can share legal on that, since they have to also hire an attorney? If it's going to be a staff attorney, would there be any conflict on that? Can you answer that, Chris? If it's a staff attorney.
Because it's the same as the market currently,
So that one attorney cannot do it, right?
They can be general things, or some sort of conflict, and all three entities will need a special counsel to step in.
What would be a special thing if it needs to be done?
Like when we did the employee development agreement, because
They have one.
they want their attorney to city, and since there would be a staff attorney for all three entities, that staff attorney could choose which one for the.
Like for contracts and stuff like that, could they work with that?
It depends on who the parties to that contract.
Okay. And I guess that's mine.
Also, would your firm, Mr. Rosenberg, be willing to work on a basis other than an hourly basis and like a contractual basis? And
I'm not a partner, so I couldn't answer you that, unfortunately.
I mean, because one way to prevent the cost is, I mean, every meeting we sit there, like, hey Luke, can you look at that? Hey Luke, can you look at that? Hey Chris, can you look at that? I mean, that's what I mean, your hourly just continues. I mean, there used to be a point where only the city manager or the mayor would talk to the attorney, but now it's just, you keep feeding and feeding, and of course that hourly clock just keeps on going. I mean, you keep asking, do this, do that. Well, who is it gonna charge?
And
At some point, we just gotta stop asking questions. I mean, there's other resources that we can get to get these answers. I mean, other than just asking the attorney, hey, can you go look this up? Can you go look this up? Of course,
Yeah, and some things, the attorney usually use the agenda, and it can be quite costly unless we have an issue or we're concerned about something particularly or how it can be. I know tonight we're probably one of those with as many executive sessions as we have, but typically it's a generic Virginia or whatever, if we, but that is costly. But no matter what the attorney is going to cost you, I mean, but it's safer.
I think that it'd be again, of the best interest for the city to have a staff attorney, because we, as a council, the employees, and, have an unlimited amount of questions to ask a staff employee, rather than, well, I'm going to choose my questions wisely. We can go out, we can ask the questions that we need to ask, and, be done with it. And I think we'd be more educated as a council to be addressing an attorney and make the right decisions. And
Well, all we're doing here is just allowing you to go and work.
Yes, you just directly, I can go and get, resumes and backgrounds and.
But do you need a CNA to do that? You should take direction and
Not to search for your attorney. You need to be a party to that. You need to say yes, because you can say yes to me, and that's what I want you to go with it. So to do, and then bring you back whatever proposals I can get or whatever resumes I have, bring them to you, and you look at them and address them and see if you want to go forward. In the interview, you still have to retain the same attorney that you have. So you need to be able to look and see what the options are. Now, as you go online, you can shop for a car, and you can say the cars cost this, and then when you actually go to the storehouse, sometimes it's a lot different, because they don't put all the sticker prices on there. Oh, I'm sorry, no offense. So it can be different, but those are where I got those prices from, and so going forward, we can see reality what to do. Now, specialty is going to be important. I mean, I would strongly recommend you get somebody who has government experience, because government is unique, and municipal law negotiating, and so his resume will look at that and be able to do that, and you can determine their experience based on the resume and how they present themselves.
I think part of the motion includes to create a process for this auction, because it's not an easy thing, it's not something you can do overnight.
No, it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time working to do that, and then transportation, location, all those kind of things. Unfortunately, nobody be here a resident of Floresville, but you never know.
I'd like to make the motion to.
Hold on. Do we have any citizen comments at this time?
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I have a question. I know I think everybody can hear me if I stand up. Councilman, you have to ask the question about,
Could
well-
you state your name for the record?
my name is Jim Miller.
Thank you.
And the address.
I don't have to state my address to speak in a city council meeting. I'm a resident of this community.
That's why I'm asking, this is a new process. Mayor,
I
did
don't
we
think
not
that, I don't
discuss
think that
state
council
a
has
name and
approved
an
that.
address?
I don't think it's in the charter or the,
It's in the rules of conduct.
That's what we're talking, where there's nothing that states you have to make the comments, but if you'd like a response or anything like that, you do recommend you give some manner in which you can be responded.
I personally don't know how you live.
Please.
But Councilman Nicholas made the comment about limiting questions or asking questions wisely. Councilman Rodriguez really kind of opened the floodgate there to say, hey, well, a staff attorney would give us unlimited questions to answer. I think Council, Mr. Hug, noted that for things like agenda preparations, some contracts, the activities of a staff attorney could be shared by the 4A, the 4B, and the City of Floresville. I don't think this is an action that is saying go hire a city attorney, but rather an action to say seek proposals for a city staff attorney. Councilman Castillo very poignantly pointed out that this is going to take some time because it's going to have to change the organizational structure of the city. There are personnel issues to worry about. How is this person going to be rated? Who are they going to work for? Are they going to work for the council? Are they going to work for the city manager? What is the process? But I think given the total costs of legal fees, be it hourly or by retainer, that a city staff attorney could handle about 98% of the business that the city has. There are